joining. We're going to kick off and start our webinar on future-proofing internal comms, the power of design thinking, and Microsoft 365 Copilot. I'll start with some intros. I'm sure, as Emma's already said, lots of friendly faces have joined the call, and so good to see many of you who are already aware of who we are. But Emma, I'll hand over to you to do your quick intro.
Thanks, Alex. So hi, everybody. I know quite a few of you on the call, so I won't go on about my background at length, but I'm Emma Bridger. I head up a company called People Lab. We are an employee experience and engagement consultancy, and also the EX space. More about that later. We are kind of world-leading membership platform for anyone wanting to develop their EX skills. So that's probably all you need to know about me, other than if you don't know me already, you'll discover from this call just how passionate I am about this opportunity that we have to improve people's experience at work, and that absolutely includes internal comms.
Thanks, Emma. And again, I'll build upon that passion piece, because I think it falls into my role as a Chief Visionary Officer at Silicon Reef, where I think it's mostly, and she even says passion in my bio there, is mostly me telling you about how technology can be a great enabler for fantastic ecosystems that create employee experience within an organization. My background is working with enterprise organizations at Silicon Reef on employee engagement and transformation projects. We are a Microsoft partner, and we only really focus within the Microsoft ecosystem. And we're going to tell you today a little bit more about how the great tools that are available from Microsoft can complement your employee experience platforms. One thing that's important to say as well is I think some of you are already doing this, but please use the reactions, use the thumbs up, the applause, the hearts if you feel like something resonates with you. Use the chat as well. Please use the chat if you've got the access to the chat from whatever device you're using. Ask some questions. We've got the Q&A panel already available. So if you wanted to ask any questions, Emma and I will be able to pick them up either in the session and perhaps bring you live on to ask a question, or if not, we can ask the question on behalf of you, or if not in the session, we'll follow up with you afterwards. Another thing it's important to note is that what People Lab, the EX Space, and Silicon Reef have done here is that for many months we've been talking about how we can come together to really make the most of the opportunity that's ahead of us with employee experience and the technology that's leading from Microsoft. So really, we're here today to also emphasize how our partnership can really help you if you need our help to help along that journey for employee experience. Things we're going to cover off. So Emma, you're going to cover off design thinking for internal communicators, all of your framework that you've used from design thinking. Explain a little bit about what it is. Before we go into that, we'll set the scene about AI, and it's on the topic of everybody's lips at the moment. And Emma sent out a newsletter just last week all about AI as well. We'll talk about how Copilot can really be that extra pair of hands that you need within your team to help you to get those tasks done, and those menial tasks that you don't really want to be doing, or perhaps be creative. And then we're going to go into a case study for an intranet refresh, which some of you may be doing, some of you may have done, but we thought we'd apply a framework using design thinking around it, and how Copilot can really help you to make that come to life and be an assistant for you. So Emma.
Cool. So I'm going to start off with a really obvious slide here, but I think it's a really good scene setter. It's a great quote here from Josh Basin that some of you may have come across. He's a HR thought leader from the US who leads a lot of the work with Deloitte are doing. He says, "We're living through the greatest workplace transformation since the Industrial Revolution, driven by the rapid adoption of digital technologies, shifting workforce demographics, and new ways of working." So I think, from the outset, we know whether we're working in internal comms or other areas of the people side of the business, we absolutely have to do things differently. If we don't, we're going to get left behind. So that's want to kind of just set that scene straight away. And Alex is going to drive the slides for me today. So go to the next one, Alex. Thank you. So, and then I think you're looking this one up, aren't you? Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to really kind of reiterate that with some numbers. So Microsoft do something called the Work Trend Index report, and some of you may be familiar with this, but something that I found really insightful of bringing your own AI tools to work. So of the 78%, of the 75% of people who already use AI at work, 78% of those people who are using AI are actually bringing their own AI tools. BYOAI, if you wanted to break that down, bring your own AI to work. And actually, I think that's a really interesting statistic from 2024, because the shift that we'll see with the introduction of things like Microsoft 365 Copilot into organizations, that BYO capability, it's going to drop off as more and more organizations adopt an organization approach that's governed a lot more and has a lot more frameworks around it. So another interesting fact that the statistics here was 52% of those AI users are reluctant to admit they use it for most important tasks, and we'll capture some more information about that. The BYOAI, again, I found this one really interesting, particularly with the gap between millennials and boomers only being 5% of bringing your own AI to work. And Emma, I know you've got some views about these generational perspectives here, but I found this one really interesting.
Yeah, I think there's a big obsession at the moment with, like, you know, how do we communicate with Gen Z and how do we communicate with different generations? And it's just too convenient to stick a bunch of people into the same bucket simply because they were born within a 15-year window of each other, right? Or however you kind of break it up, there's slightly different kind of ages on here. And what we're going to talk a lot about today is actually the magic really happens when you take the time to genuinely get to know your people, and you don't have assumptions about who they are based on when they happen to be born. So I think that's a really good statistic to kind of bring that to life. I think you'd have an assumption that those numbers would be very different, but we see that a lot of boomers are using AI. So we've got a poll for you.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, we've actually just got a poll to kick off here. So we'd be grateful if you could just fill in the poll for us to let us know how you feel about the rise of AI tools within your workplace. I'll give you a couple of seconds just to complete that. So once you've done that, it should disappear from your screens. But yeah, Emma, employees have become the consumers of the workplace.
Yeah. Before I get onto that, just looking at the results coming through, I think it's really fascinating. Actually, we were talking yesterday about this generational thing. So I was sort of saying that I've got 3 teenagers who are all Gen Zs, and a couple of them are at university, and they're actually a lot more suspicious and scared of AI than I am, because it's been drummed into them. You know, they can't use it for their studies; they'll get caught out. So I think I'm actually a lot more of an early adopter with AI than my Gen Z kids. So just one example of how you can make assumptions, but. Yeah, I think that's really good to see those results coming through there. So, you know, 70% excited. That's brilliant. That's great. And I think we're really going to hopefully get even more excited today. About quarters curious, only 4% confused, nobody concerned or terrified. That's really good news, right, Alex?
Yeah, absolutely. I think some of the things that we wanted to try and do today was, for those of you that are curious or perhaps confused, we wanted to just try and provide some real life examples, which is where we're going to talk about our case study, which is just a scenario about how you might use AI practically to help you to get stuff done. So those of you that are excited, we'll also show you a little bit perhaps of some of the newer technologies that are rolling out within Copilot as well.
So going back to this kind of huge workplace kind of revolution we're seeing, for those of us that are involved in the people side of the business, and those of you that know me on the call, you'll have heard me use this quote many times. I love this from Gallup: employees have become the consumers of the workplace. We have to think very differently about our employees, and I could do a whole webinar on this, so I won't go on about, I won't labour the point, but we need to think about them in the same ways that our colleagues in marketing or customer experience or, you know, customer service have thought about our people. And that requires a very different approach, a very different way of thinking, a different mindset, and a different set of tools. We've got to do things differently if we want to be relevant. So just moving on to the next slide. So the big shift really, and this sounds so obvious, right? But the big shift is about putting our people genuinely at the heart of what we do. And I think it's been an irony for me that for years we've talked about human resources. I mean, the fact you put those two words together anyway doesn't make sense. It's kind of paradoxical. But human resources actually for many years has been probably one of the least human parts of the organization. And we need to kind of make this shift in the way that our colleagues in marketing, in the world of customers, genuinely have this kind of curiosity about, the customers. They want to get to know the people that are buying from them. We have to have that same kind of curiosity and empathy with our people. It's no longer the case we could do things to our people. We have to really, really put our people genuinely at the heart of what we do. And actually, the world of tech have been doing this for quite a long time in terms of user experience. We need to kind of take on some of those tools and methodologies to the people side of the business. So we talk about IC design. So we borrow tools from a range of different disciplines, not just design thinking, actually, from service design, from agile, from systems thinking, from positive psychology. And what we've done at the EX Space and People Lab is to kind of do the heavy lifting for you. So we've taken a lot of those tools and ideas, we kind of synthesized them into a really easy to use, practical, straightforward framework. So you don't have to think about all of those different methodologies and tools. We've done all that heavy lifting for you. And what we talk about is IC design is really where human creativity, which is what design thinking is all about, right? It's an approach to innovation. It allows us to think creatively and innovative without even knowing that we're doing that. You haven't got to think, oh, how do I be creative and innovative? So it allows us to kind of marry that human creativity with AI efficiency. So what this will do for us to unleash our internal comms potential to focus on work that truly matters. So I often have said for a long time that if you work in internal comms, and that's where I started my career, you're kind of a victim of your own success, right? Because the better you are at your job and the better your team are at the job, the more requests you get. And there's just not enough hours in the day to do everything that's expected of you. So I think we've got a really exciting future ahead of us by using these kind of tools that allow us to be genuinely creative. They allow us to do the stuff that AI will never be able to do, right? Will allow us to think creatively, but we marry that with the efficiencies of AI. That's where the magic is going to happen. So we've kind of brought these two worlds together, the human part and the tech AI part, and we've kind of developed a whole framework and process for you to be able to do that. So I'm really excited about where this kind of takes us next.
And I think just if you're interested in how the AI part can really play a part in that creativity, hold on until the latter part of the webinar. I've got a demo where I'm going to show you how an AI agent can actually help you with that efficiency part as well. So just a little bit of a teaser for the end part of the webinar here.
Yeah. So as I've said, this is our kind of framework. And if you're interested in this, sign up to the EX Space, because we've got a load of tools that kind of hold your hand through this. But the design thinking part of it, so it's more than just design thinking, and there's a whole lot of other disciplines in there, that unleashes the human creativity. This does the stuff, or helps us to do the stuff that AI will never be able to do, right? So I'm not going to read through all these bullets because we haven't got a lot of time today, but you'll get a copy of these slides at the end so you can have a look at this in more detail. But for example, this framework allows us to be genuinely human-centered, put our people at the front and center of this thinking. It allows us to be empathy-driven. It allows us to be solution-orientated. So it allows us to kind of do the parts of our job where we really add the value, the bit that AI is never going to take away from us. And what we can then do is use AI to do the bits that actually are perhaps the bits that take up more of our time than we would want to take up, as we'll explain more shortly. So the design thinking allows us to unleash the human creativity. And then the Copilot piece, the AI piece, over to you for this bit, Alex.
Yeah, so my role here will be bringing the Microsoft Copilot bits to life. So first of all, I wanted to make a level set and put everybody on the same understanding of what it is we're talking about when we mention the word Copilot, because many of you will have heard of it. And there's a few different variants of Copilot. So it's important to note that we're talking about Microsoft 365 Copilot. So this is the Copilot within these boxes here that you can see, where you have the ability to query things from the web. So these are things like a ChatGPT, where it goes out to the web, goes and gathers information, pulls it back, and it surfaces it back to you. But importantly, the differentiator is that it also has a grounding within your work content. So these are things like within your Outlook emails, within your OneDrive, within your SharePoint, all of the different contexts and content that you have access to. And importantly, it's ability to say that you have access to in terms of what it can go and find, that's where Microsoft 365 Copilot has its strengths. It also is embedded within your Microsoft 365 apps. So today we're going to look at across Excel, PowerPoint, and Word, how you can actually use Copilot within those applications as a tool to help you to get stuff done. But then on the right-hand side here, you've got Copilot Studio. Now, this is something which is a bit more on a low code perspective, where you can actually create your own AI agent for a team. And I'll cover that off later on. But all of that is wrapped around your organizational policies and privacy and security. So Microsoft 365 Copilot is the main thing that we're going to be talking about here today in terms of the AI assistant. And I'll cover off as many different topics as I can about how you can use it.
So again, I'm not going to go into all of this in detail, but actually, before we do, we've got a poll. I've just been reminded, just interested, who is using Copilot or other AI tools in their work, just to get a sense of where people are at. So we're all the early adopters here, aren't we?
Yeah, it's growing.
And most of us are in that. I can go back to that Gen Z slide. Yeah. So majority are, some aren't. That's fine. Then you're in the right place. But I think what's really interesting for me about this whole kind of world of AI is it's really unique, right? Because we're all learning together. If anyone tells you that they're an expert on this, I don't think there are any experts. We're all learning this together in terms of how we apply it to our world of work in EX and internal comms. That's what I'm talking about. Obviously, there are the tech experts, of course, but in terms of how we apply this, we're all figuring it out together. So I think it's wonderfully democratic and collaborative, because we're all learning, going, hey, have you tried to use it for this? And someone else says, oh, I can use it for that. And I think it's a really great place to be. So I love that.
I also, on that point, I also think it's important to say that Copilot has only been around for 12 months. So Microsoft is still learning as well, and they're doing lots of things to improve how it works, improve the usability, but also improve some of the gaps that they've found from the early adopters program. And I'm continually seeing new improvements being made in how data is surfaced to people, or how it isn't surfaced to people. They're just some important things that are actually being acknowledged by Microsoft as they learn to go through that hype curve of where are we on that curve, where people are starting to use it.
Yeah, it's a great point. And in terms of, going back to this human plus AI is where we really kind of supercharge internal comms and actually any side of the people business. Again, I'm not going to talk through all this, but just a few examples here. So, it's going to allow us to amplify the human creativity. So that, unlocking of that innovation and empathy. Automating routine tasks. So I know there's kind of a little bit of nervousness around, oh, is it going to take my job away, right? I use AI regularly for copywriting for my businesses, and that's freed up my time to do other things. And I'm just thinking back to my days in internal comms, and internal comms is so well placed to genuinely be the experts in terms of genuinely knowing who employees are, right? But years ago, we had so much to do. We were spinning so many plates that we were relying on things like the annual survey, maybe a few pulse surveys. And if we were lucky, we might get out and do a few focus groups. The wonderful thing about this AI efficiency is going to allow us to do the stuff that really adds the value. So we're going to have more time to go away and genuinely get to know our people. We're going to be able to use Copilot AI to analyze the data to a much greater level. It always makes me laugh that people in internal comms and actually HR are kind of expected to be research scientists. I actually have a background as a psychologist in research, but a lot of people kind of fall into various elements of internal comms, for example, and suddenly they're having to help design a survey or run a focus group without any kind of knowledge of how to do that. The wonderful thing about AI is it is an expert in analyzing data, for example. It can analyze qualitative inputs to an amazing kind of level of expertise in a way that, if you fall into it IC and you're not got a background in research and data, you might struggle with that. So it's going to allow us to be much more efficient and do the things that really make a difference. So I think where I'm going with this, and this is what I get very excited about, is for years, I think we've been stuck in internal comms. We kind of could see our potential, but we were really frustrated because we couldn't really do it because we had so many kind of basic foundational elements to our job that we had to do. And I talk about transactional IC. So transactional IC was kind of quite generic. It was broadcast. We couldn't possibly personalize because that would have just taken up too much of our day, right? So we had to do broadcast. We didn't want to. We wanted to be more personal, but we couldn't. It was about the organization and what it wanted. We saw our employees as employees. It was reactive. It was about channels and messaging. And it was about process measures. So how many clicks and likes have we got? And I think using this kind of IC design, so this kind of hybrid of new disciplines, design thinking, service design, and marrying that with AI, Copilot, we're going to be able to move to a world where we're much more transformational. We're finally going to realize our potential as internal communicators. So we're going to be able to be much more personalized. We're going to be able to be people and human centered. We're going to see our people as customers in the way our marketing colleagues do. We're going to be more proactive. We're going to be talking behavior change. We're going to be looking at impact and outcome measures. So for me, this is why I'm so excited about what this move will do for us.
And we decided to put a case study together for you, just a bit of a use case really around using Copilot to help you with your intranet revamp. And I think it's some of that transformational thing, because lots of things that we know about how Copilot can really help, it's only going to be as good as the data it has access to. And many of you within your organizations will see the intranet as a single source of truth, and Copilot needs that truth data to be able to find its reference points. So this framework that we're going to use today is an intranet revamp, but really it could be anything. And as Emma said on the last slide about how you can actually transform how you work and all the different activities that you do that are that IC design, that really humanistic part of this, it's all about how you can actually apply AI thinking and design thinking here to actually marry up to do any task, whether it's a campaign or whether it's an intranet or something that you just need to have some different perspectives. This is how Copilot can help. So we pulled together some activities here alongside the framework. So Emma, did you want to run through the framework from scope to opportunity
just
to solution?
to give you a flavour of how Copilot AI could help across all the different elements of this kind of IC design framework. So let's look at the first diamond. Excuse me. So we talk about 3 diamonds here. So the first part is about scoping. What's our ideal experience and how do we measure up? And then we get really clear on where we want to focus and why. Once we've done that, we move into the opportunity space. And this is where we really kind of put our people front and center of this. So we step into the shoes that people we're designing for. We empathize with them. We use tools like empathy maps and personas. And then we really define the human need from their perspective. And then and only then do we get to that bit that we're actually really good at as internal communicators, the ideation, the prototype, and the testing. And the wonderful thing is that, you know, we've been experimenting with Copilot, and there are so many ways it can help us across this whole framework. So, for example, right back at the beginning, before we even get into scoping, actually, we might want to be building a business case. So, you know, again, most of us that fall into internal comms or HR, you know, we have a go at this and we probably do a pretty good job of it. But, you know, many of us haven't got a background in building business cases. It just makes our life so much easier. Rather than taking 2 days in a business case, you'll see very shortly, we can build a business case in kind of no time at all. It might help us to identify what really matters to our people. If we're using Viva Glint, for example, or an employee survey, we can feed that data. And in fact, any data we've got, so whether it's focus group data, pulse survey data, exit data, if we're looking at exit experiences or onboarding data, we can feed it in here. And we can do the human stuff. So we might get a bunch of people in a room and say, let's go back to this, you know, let's talk about the intranet. What's our ideal intranet experience? We might get a bunch of people, we might have a wonderful day in a room, mapping that journey with them. At the end of the day, when we've got all those insights from them, we can use Copilot to help us analyze that. And the beauty here is that we can analyze it from our perspectives, great tick. But when we see what Copilot does and we put those two together, we get a much better output. So straight away, some examples of how we can use Copilot in that scoping space. In the opportunity space, again, We can use it for developing personas, reviewing user feedback. Again, if we do some empathy mapping here, if you're interested in these tools, check out the EX space. We can use the inputs here, and it can help us to really figure out what is it we're trying to solve, what's the problem we're trying to solve. And again, it helps us to overcome biases, because we can feed all this information into Copilot, say, well, we think we're looking at this, but Copilot might think it's something very different. Now, I'm not saying we would discount our view, but it just helps us to think in very different ways. And then we get to ideate and prototype and test. And again, so many different ways we can use Copilot there. I'm not even going to go into it all now because we haven't got time, but it's really excited about the different ways we can use Copilot and AI to help us at every step of the IC design framework.
Great. So time to jump in and show you some examples. So I'm actually going to be really brave, and I am going to live demo this. So no smoke and mirrors, this is absolutely live, and I am hopeful that everything will go as planned. So I'm going to share another window a second here. Okay, so this is my live Copilot environment. We're now looking at my Copilot, and one of the things that I want to try and do here is to build a business case. So something that I talked about earlier on was agents. So agents, and I think we're in the era going into 2025 where agents will be something that becomes more popular across your organization. You'll start hearing more about them. And agents are really there to help you to get stuff done as an individual, but also as a team. And one of the biggest barriers to entry for effective use of AI is a prompt. So Microsoft introduced an agent here called a prompt coach. I'm just going to flick over from Copilot to look at my prompt coach. And I'm actually going to ask it, I'm going to say, can you help me create a prompt that I can use Copilot in Word? So I'm asking it a question because this specific agent is there to help me to make sure that I'm entering a prompt that will get the best possible output. It's told me to use a structure called GCSE. So going back to school again, so your goals, context, source, and expectations. Now I'm going to do a little bit of a cheat and do it. Here's one I made earlier to save me from typing this all out. But really what I'm starting to do now is I'm using the prompt coach, the guidance it's giving me, and I'm responding to that. So say I want to write a business case to present to senior leadership about why we need to invest in replacing our existing intranet. So now I'm going to paste it in, and what it's going to do is going to give me a result that is a great structure that it knows will get the best benefit from putting this into Copilot in Word. So I've taken this context here, taken all the instructions, I can paste it into Word. So I'm now going into Word and I'm starting to leverage Copilot across the different applications now. So this is just standard Word like you've got on your desktop. You've got the Copilot icon there. I'm going to bring open a dialog box to say I'm going to paste in that prompt. So here's the prompt that I've taken directly from there using my GCSE. You can see the letters there. But actually, if you work in an organization and you have a specific template, a structure that you have to use for your business cases, many of you will be in organizations where that's the case, where you have to put it into a certain structure. You can actually reference that file, whether it's a PDF, a Word document, or a PowerPoint, and you can say, I want the structure to be professional, so be structured professionally, but following our approved business case template. Now, Silicon Reef have a PDF available on our website about how to build a business case. So I'm going to say used structure recommended by that. Now, fingers crossed, if Copilot's working effectively, it starts to build out for me a structure for my business case, outlining why we need it. So it's got the background. It's setting up what I need to fill out for laying a foundation. And these are the things that I will put into my business case. So it's taking the structure that was in my PDF, putting out into the 5 different phases. It's kept it it's kept it to 3 pages, which was my goal there. And it's provided me with an output that I can now take a structure of how to build a business case, put it into teams and share it with my team. And we can all start collaborating on building out the business case for Copilot within my organization. So very simply, I've started the first step in gathering information, building a business case to present to leadership to say, this is why we need to do this project. Emma, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, no, I think it's a few good reactions coming through already. And I think I've been using ChatGPT for almost 2 years now and Copilot as well. And what I've learned is that when you start to treat AI like a genuine assistant, and mean, for me, I mean, I'm terrible with a blank sheet of paper, and it just gets me off that blank sheet of paper, but also sort of saying, this is great, and I've got this really tricky stakeholder who really cares about X, Y, or Z. What could you put in to help me convince that stakeholder? And you get a great response. Not always, but, you know, often, well, have you thought about this, or put that in? Ah, that's great. So that the better brief I can give AI, and the more information I can give it, the better output I get. So I'm genuinely using it now to kind of think about, for example, stakeholder management. So yeah, just one build on that for you, Alex.
Thank you. No, and I think, like I said, the agent there, they're using a prompt coach to get the best possible output for them from using that to help you structure your correct prompt so you get the best output. And then you can always iterate as well. You can iterate, you can speak back to Copilot and get better results. The next thing I want us to show you, again, I'm just demonstrating within another one of the Office apps. Emma mentioned earlier on about that qualitative data, using some content, using some research. One of the other things, I think, Emma, you and I talked about this before, is the fact that you can actually use AI, Copilot, ChatGPT, whatever it may be, to help you build out questionnaires as well.
Yeah. It comes back to that, you know, a lot of people sort of fallen into various roles and they don't have a background as a research site. You know, I'm quite a modest person, but I do have a background I started my life as a researcher, and there's a real art to writing a good questionnaire. And I think it's unfair to expect, you know, someone in internal comms, for example, just to know how to write a decent audit questionnaire, for example. And I think, you know, using these tools to be able to write really good survey questions or really good focus group guides. Again, it's the sort of thing that, you know, would have taken you a long time, a lot of Googling or research, or you might have brought someone in to do that for you. Now you can do it yourself, and you can add to it, you can tweak it, you can change it. I think that's really key, Alex, is that iterative process where I've got the most benefit from using AI, you know, in the work that we do, is to have that kind of iterative, ongoing kind of build. So it's not just, oh, okay, that's it, once and done. It's like, oh, actually, what about this then? It also triggers questions with me as well. I go, oh, I hadn't thought about that, and I want to build on that. So it's kind of that iterative piece where the magic happens, I think. So
once you've got all your questions in there, I've got here 200 responses. Now, again, this is just me taking 200 pieces of dummy data and putting it into Excel from an output. Again, you could be using forms, you could be using any other tool to go and do your surveys. But typically when you do an intranet project or another engagement project, you get a load of data and you need it analyzed. This is where me and Excel are not best friends. We don't get on very well because I don't really understand what it needs me to put into it to be able to get chart outputs, pivot tables. I don't really get it. But Copilot within Excel now is helping me to be more effective in how I work. So I've asked it to say, can you analyze this data? So actually, can I say, okay, well, actually, it's got some suggested improvements. So this is from my question. Design is appearing most often as the biggest suggested improvement point for the intranet. I'm going to take that, build it into my sheet, going to add it over, and automatically adds that content into a new sheet, puts all the results into a pivot table, and I've got a graph to go and put into my business case document, ready to present to the senior leadership team. Okay, brilliant. So I've got a first step there. But actually, usually we need a rich set of data to present as part of that business case. So now it probably would have taken me, and this is my skill set, about 2 to 3 hours to go and build out all of those individual graphs. Instead, I've just said, add all the insights that you can find from this data to a grid. And if the demo gods are going to be friendly to me today, hopefully I'll insert the content. And here we go, magic. So it's done it. So I've now got different charts and different sets of data. It's added all of the insights from the data sheet, and I can now start to look at some of these different pieces of output and start to build them into my business case with my own human written commentary. Or I can actually get Copilot to help me to say, well, actually, how have we got that? What more can I say about that? And I can use Copilot to help me query some deeper insights. So I could take some of these charts, stick it back over into my structured document here about why I'm making a recommendation. Well, it's actually because I listened to my people. I got the data I needed from here. You can see it in the results here. And it's so much faster, so much faster.
Yeah. And again, thinking about, the sort of the IC design framework, it's all about, where are we today and what's our ideal? And there'll be lots of different data points around where are we today. You can feed them all in and it will do the heavy lifting for you in no time at all. So that used to take us like, days or weeks to do previously.
Okay, I am going back to my prompt coach just to show you again, there was actual real stuff going on here and no smoke and mirrors. I'm going to now build out a set of personas. So I'm actually saying to Copilot, and again, I want you to really understand that I want Copilot to go and look within my organization and what it knows about me. So I'm saying I want to build a prompt that builds a PowerPoint presentation. So I'm going to say, actually, the output I'm expecting is a PowerPoint. And I want you to build some personas based upon the job roles within my organization. So it knows the context of who works in my organization. And I want to build out 5 personas with a set of outputs. So off it goes, and it goes and actually says, right, here's an output that you can go and use and put that into PowerPoint. So I'll just flick over to PowerPoint. And in PowerPoint, I want to now say, create me a presentation. It's going to go and create me a presentation, and I'm going to paste that in. That's just the same prompt that I got as the output. Put it into here. Now, this one can take a bit longer, so actually it's been really quickly now. So within my organization at Silicon Reef, we have software developers, project managers, HR people, marketing people, and finance people. Great. I've got 5 personas. I can edit this, move it around. I can add new ones in if I needed to. I could actually go and edit the prompt to get different set of outputs. But if my organization doesn't have personas and I need a good head start, let's see what it does. So it's going to go and build out my slides with all the different personas on it. It's going to take a couple of seconds, but Emma, where are we in our design thinking?
Anyone that's on the call that's worked with us on personas, you'll know that people have in the X space, we would call these pen portraits rather than personas. Ideally, a decent set of behavioral personas means going out and speaking to your people. But again, you can see how by doing that, you get a really rich set of behavioral personas working with Copilot. But if you haven't got time to do that, haven't got the budget to do it, then at least this gets you some of the way, right? At least this gets you thinking about who are the people we're designing for. It gets you in the right mindset. So it's a really good first quick and dirty step to thinking about the people you're working with, the people you're designing for. So if they're role-based, which they are here, we would tend to call them pen portraits. So, but yeah, I mean, it absolutely starts you thinking about who are the people we're designing for. So that's pretty impressive, isn't it? In no time at all to come up with that.
Exactly. And again, just thinking about just it's being a great head start. I've got a fantastic head start where I can start to think about these are the personas that I'm going to focus on. And I can change it. I'm just in PowerPoint now. I can go and iterate as a team. We can say, well, actually, that's not the persona we want to do, but a lot of the role summary, but also their wants and needs are very similar, or we don't call them that. So again, just showing you the examples of how you can get a really quick head start to get your project up and running. Great. So that's my live demo sorted. I think I got away with that one in terms of actually smoothness of the demo and no technology fails. I'll just go back to the presentation a second.
And we're literally just scratching the surface here, right? Because the possibilities are immense, and we've been playing around with this and for quite some time now. And we've picked on the intranet project because it's something that's relevant to many people. But you can see there's so many ways you can use these tools.
Yeah, and if you do have any other comments, I can see some chat coming through. Yeah. So please, if there's something that resonates with you, where you think, actually, I've used this, I really enjoyed it, or I tried that and it didn't quite work, but happy to hear from your experiences as well. Please just let us know what you're thinking about it. So, moving on to employee surveys. So this is a bit where Emma mentioned earlier on about how we can do our employee listening and surveys, and Viva Glint was one of the applications that we've got. And Viva Glint is part of the Viva suite, and it has Copilot built into it to be able to do your analysis. So this is just a screenshot. I'm not going to do any demos here, but it's really just to show you that in terms of content analysis, you can get your employee surveys and all of the responses back from it. So we've got Philips, we've got a case study link at the bottom there. You can actually click on that. They did 14,000 employee comments from the survey. It did the analysis of that in 15 seconds. So you can really just start to use Copilot natural language to query, what are people feeling about this? Well, how are they feeling about a topic? What's being talked about in terms of a pain area? And Copilot just surfaces up that content to you. And you can, again, we talked about this earlier on, dig deeper, ask it further questions. and it helps you to use those insights to make decisions. Emma, did you want to build any more about the Viva Glint?
No, just say that, it helps to overcome those biases. Working with the C-suite, they'll often have these kind of like frame of reference about what they believe to be true, and you can go back to, it doesn't even have to be in Glint, it could be anything you put into it. And the great thing about most data sets, you can get them into Excel, like from SurveyMonkey, whatever you're using, and then you can interrogate the data and say, well, how many times was this mentioned? Oh, look, out of 40,000 people responded, only 5 people mentioned that. So, so it just helps to give you much more of an evidence-based approach to redesigning experiences for your people.
Okay, so moving into, we've built our business case, we've started our personas, and we're now starting to think about launch comms. I'm going to touch upon Viva Engage, and actually this is like a 2-minute video that we're just going to watch in a second from Microsoft that talks a little bit about how to use Copilot within Viva Engage. The interesting thing about it is, and how you can actually apply it, think about when you're watching this video, the reference point that they're using is they reference a document to create a set of comms, but actually that business case that we talked about generating earlier on, that could well be the piece of content that you're referencing to how to help with building out that launch campaign, that launch comms. So I'm just going to hit play on this one.
Viva Engage is a modern communication platform that leverages social concepts and multimedia content to drive engagement and two-way discussions with employees. Here on the Viva Engage homepage, you can view your feed, see upcoming events like AMAs, and even get a snapshot of trending topics and audience sentiment. This is also where leaders can start drafting a post, for example, to share out quarterly goals with their organization. With Copilot in post to help your content have greater reach and engagement with employees.
You know what? I can hear it twice, Bruce, as well. That's annoying me, so I'm actually going to hit pause on that because that's annoying. Let's just try that again.
Based on an existing business plan document. It starts generating the draft post and shows you a preview.
No, it is annoying me. It's too much to bear, that one. But I paused it on this part here, but really what it's showing you is it's showing you you're generating a post for your launch plan. And the next part of it, and we will share a link to this afterwards, it actually then moves into, you can generate an output for a piece of launch comms based upon a document. So I think what I'm trying to do here is to tie together the journey of, we've built a business case, now I'm ready to go to launch with what it is. Use that business case to help set the foundation of why we're doing this, because the comms should be, comms should reference why we're doing this, what the benefits, and then you can use Copilot to, you can see in this here, change the tone to make it more inspirational. This is just here to help you to get that 50% along the way, then add your own human refinements to the way that you want it to sound. Again, we won't go into any more of that because that was too much to bear, the duplicate voice there. But we will share a link to this recording when we follow up. Well, what's your feeling on using AI for comms and preparing comms?
Again, it's using the assistant, because we know what we're doing right with this sort of stuff, but it just does all that. Someone said before, all the boring stuff, it's like, I mean, for me, setting objectives, it's a real art setting good objectives or good OKRs. And it just gets me away from the blank sheet of paper. And I will tweak it and I'll add to it and I'll sort of say, I'm not sure about that one. And what about this? It's never 100%, but I think it just kind of gets you, it gives you a good foundation.
So this is the bit I teased earlier on, AI agents. So I think AI agents are going to be something we're going to hear more and more about. And when I'm talking about an agent, you typically think about that screenshot on the right-hand side there, where you've got, used to be commonly known as a chatbot. So these are the things where you can ask it a question, it gives you back a response. And actually, we've all had our painful experiences with this, right? We've all had those experiences where you just said, just give me a person to talk to, you're driving me mad. but actually it's moved along so much more. And these are actually starting to become what's going to be known as nudge technology, just to help you to make those decisions a bit faster, to take action on something perhaps when you regularly need to do it. And this ties into what we talked about with being automated. So actually you can take some of those tasks away from you. So an agent is really like a project assistant that can send you reminders or can give you updates that you're doing. And agents, you can actually work across your team as well. It's things that we've talked about, and these, again, typical HR scenarios. You've got find me some policy information documents. Think about onboarding new team members, how that can be transformed. So something like, hey, the chatbot, we're starting an onboarding sequence for our new team member, and it will kick off a workflow, a task, a set of actions in the background, where normally you would have had to go and send out, those scheduled emails, or you kick off something in a different process in a different tool. We can initiate that by talking to our agent, building reports, submitting requests, those tasks and things that you actually do on a generic basis, being much faster to get those things done. Emma, what are your thoughts on AI agents within this, and then how they work with employee experience?
Absolutely. I think from an internal comms point of view, this is going to be a game changer, right? Think about the old, back in my day when I was in house, talk about like the old air traffic control planner, spreadsheet of all these different flows and the customer journey from an internal comms point of view, all these different touch points. It was just overwhelming, and lots of people try to develop software to help manage that. This is going to help with that and helps personalize it. So I think it's really exciting. And again, it just frees up to do more of the human stuff, because no one enjoyed that kind of managing that whole process. I don't think, maybe some people did, but it was a headache. So I think it's really exciting.
So here is, I'm back in my Copilot screen again, live demo world. I've created my own agent. I've actually done an agent for myself. I just called it IC Creative Agent. I built it myself. I've given it a set of parameters. Again, we can talk about this in another session in our workshop perhaps, but things that it can help you as an individual to help you achieve and to help you do. The other thing that Microsoft are doing with agents is that it's not just for you, they're for your team. So you can treat this as an extra team member to bounce those ideas off. So I've got something here where it just says, how can we gather and utilize feedback from our internal audience? Okay, just going to click that. There's a prompt ready to go. And these prompts, you can define what they're going to be. I'm starting to now look for some inspiration, some information about how I can be more creative. Starts off by looking inside my work organization, so it's referencing things that I've done in the past. So it's looking at some packs that it references to me, but also out on the internet as well. So it's helping me bounce those ideas off between me, this creative agent, and if I like one of those ideas, I can actually take this and edit it in Pages, which is a Microsoft Loop component, and then I can get my team to also input their ideas. Do they agree? Which one of these 5 or 7 things shall we go and do? Again, this agent, lots of people will start to look at creating their own internal agents, referencing your internal content, whether it's in SharePoint or whether it's in other SharePoint sites or other websites perhaps. You can start to create a really effective help chatbot, which can really help you to get stuff done as well. Okay, last thing for us is to just move on to next steps, and we can have a look at some of the Q&A as well, Emma.
Yeah, definitely.
That.
Lots of great comments coming through. I mean, there's huge possibilities. We're all learning together. Someone's got a question actually about prompt coaches because they can't see it on their Copilot. It is a Copilot.
Yeah. So if you've got Copilot, prompt coach, I'll send you a link in the follow-up email to this. It tells you how to enable that. It's free. It's part. If you've already got a Copilot license, it just needs to be enabled. Might be something within IT perhaps for them to go and turn it on. But actually, the agents are already there. You just need to be able to go and find them. Then they're all completely free. So I'll share a step-by-step of how to do that. Great. So we also had another question from Johanna. Completely agree with being curious about our employees like they are our customers and thinking like marketers. I wonder if this curiosity means from a product, curiosity means from a product management mindset, thinking about the viability, affordability, feasibility of a decision or experience that we look to create.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of this thinking has come from the world of, product design, actually, design thinking, all these worlds are kind of coming together. And there was a really interesting piece from McKinsey that came out about 2 years ago now, talking about kind of the evolution of HR, and that kind of included internal comms as well, moving from kind of like a very sort of a vertical sort of model to much more multidisciplinary and much more kind of a productizing what we do. When I say product, I don't necessarily mean like a physical product, but kind of service as a product as well. So thinking about much more kind of like a design thinking kind of mindset, which I think is, for me, which is why I'm so excited about this, because those people that kind of adopt these new ways of working and get on the bus with this, they're gonna be future fit. They're gonna lead the way, right? Because the old way of thinking, where we wrote a policy and did stuff to people, that's kind of the world's changing basically. So the product mindset is going to be absolutely critical. So thinking about internal comms, products, whether it's services or actual products, thinking about employees as customers, that's the way it's all going.
And Julia has asked, in our opinion, does it make sense to create a high-level help agents for the whole of SharePoint, like your intranet, with various subsites, or is the tendency to have more topic-specific ones at the site level? So I could take this one because at Ignite, which is the big Microsoft conference last week, they introduced a topic and something called an agent called the self-serve agent. And I think that's the one that will sit at that higher level. That will become the central go-to with, if your organization doesn't already have one, the self-serve agent, which is, again, it's a pre-built template from Microsoft where you put the pipes in to make the plumbing happen, to go off to ServiceNow, to Workday, wherever it may be. That will live at your kind of landing page at that intranet hub level. But the tendency, Julia, I think, is going to be for agents to live within specific pockets of interest. So you'll start to see more and more agents pop up where they have a specific purpose and a specific topic of expertise are needed, because you get to go and signpost where that agent, and again, the way that the Copilot works is it points at reference material. It needs to know where it needs to ground itself. So you can say, well, I want you to go into my policies or into my ways of working, my SOPs, perhaps. I need you to go and reference all of these points for that specific agent. So we'll start to see multiple agents appearing for specific topics of interest around an organization, but I still think that higher level help agent will exist on the intranet homepage, and that's like the self-serve agent, which is coming from Microsoft. I think that was all of the questions that I think we've picked up. If you have any other questions, please do post them into the chat. Again, we'll be happy to pick them up afterwards as well. Let's just wrap it up. We've got a few minutes to go. So this session, Emma's covered off the IC design thinking framework. Oh, hold on, I've got a few more questions coming in. We'll cover those in a sec. We will be sharing out some prompts for you to take away. So the prompts that I use to be able to get those personas created, and also to build the business case, and our business case PDF we'll share with you afterwards. Emma, do you want to tell us a little bit about the EX Space sign up and this QR code?
The EX Space, we've got 2 levels of membership. One's completely free. There's no catch, genuinely free. You don't ever have to pay anything if you don't want to. There's also there's another level called the Pro, which enables you to access all of our amazing courses and tools. But you can sign up now today for free by scanning the QR code. So please do come along and let us know what you're thinking. We will be sharing a lot of the resources we've talked about today on the site as well. So
fantastic. And then finally, what in 2025, Emma and I will be looking to come on a bit of a road trip, I guess, and we're looking to come and bring this workshop and really tailor it to your organization. So if you are thinking about an intranet project, perhaps, or a campaign that you're looking to run, or changing your ways of working, whatever it might be, this principle, this framework can be applied to so many different scenarios. Today we just covered one, but it's all about how can you leverage AI within that design thinking process, and we'd be happy to help you along that journey.
Yeah, the beauty of the workshops are we're going to do some public ones as well, but we think in-house works really well, because then you can gather the right people, the right team, work on whatever you want to work on. So we call it a live challenge, whether it's an intranet project or maybe an redesigning onboarding or whatever it might be, or a new culture values program, and you will get upskill and all the design thinking tools you've talked about, and we'll show you how to use Copilot every step of the way to do the heavy lifting for you. So you'll be not only working on something real, you'll be getting upskilled in design thinking, and you'll be getting upskilled in Copilot. And this is a little bit going ahead now, but we are hopefully going to get this CPD credited at some point. It's just a bit of a few hoops to jump through.
Fantastic. Well, I'm glad that Shona, who asked the question about how to find the agents for the prompt coach, Shona's managed to find it. So well done, Shona. It's really easy to find. Again, we'll share out a video about how to go and find that. And Laura, you asked about agents are included in Copilot. However, it's Viva Engage and Glint a separate license. So Viva Engage is included in your license for many of you. But Copilot activated within Engage as part of an enhanced license from Microsoft. And Glint is also an add-on product as well. So they are bolt-on products as part of the Viva suite or as part of the communications and communities bundle from Microsoft. You get Copilot within Viva Engage. I'll respond to that one separately. Then we just had another question come in, I think. It's a broad spectrum. For someone who's looking to change careers, what roles and sectors industries do you reckon I stay away from? That is a bit of a broad question there. Maybe ask Copilot or ChatGPT for a response on that one. I don't know if you wanted to take anything on that one.
I don't think I've got time in the 1 minute left. Drop me a DM. Happy to answer that on a DM. So drop me a DM.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much, Emma, and thank you everybody for joining us. We'll wrap it up there.